Hello guys, welcome back. This is a bit of a different video today, and for very good reason. I'm making this video as a sort of support for those who might be struggling with the same thing that I have for the last year. And I wanted to just cover something that's been very close to my heart and that I haven't spoke a whole lot about over the last year. Especially not on YouTube. I didn't think I'd make a YouTube video, but this has only been an idea in the past month that I'd had. For a bit of context, I lost my old man in March last year to COVID-19. And it was very sudden. It definitely happened out of the blue, and it happened so quick in the matter of 2 weeks that it didn't really take time to settle in what was really going on. A couple of days after losing my dad, I needed some comfort, and the one place I find comfort always, something that always helps me lift my mood, is YouTube. So I went about searching something I never thought I'd search on YouTube in my entire life, but I searched how to deal with losing a parent. And I came across this video by someone called Lovevie, and it's practically covering two girls' experiences with loss of a parent, and it asks some simple questions but some quite raw questions about their experience over the time frame that they'd lost their parents in. And it spoke a lot to me because it sort of gave me an idea what to expect, but at the same time it gave me comfort because it showed me that things will get easier than what they were at the time. And seeing that video, it inspired me to do something similar. And like I said, only a month ago I'd thought of the idea. And I'm hopefully making this video, it brings some comfort for those who might have lost parents more recently than I have, who might be looking for some help and support, or even just a hand on the shoulder to tell you it's going to be alright. Everything that's said in this video is directly from me or my sister's viewpoint, and only. So if you think it's a bit sensitive information, just remember it's what me and my sister are comfortable talking about. So yeah, without further ado, let's get straight into it.
It was the evening of 30th of March, and it was a Monday, I believe. I remember it like it was yesterday, as if it's only just happened. And I think it always will. I don't think it's never not going to. It's obviously going to be a big day, and on that day everything changed. So yeah, of course I remember it, and I think I always will remember it.
The day itself, I just sort of treated as a normal day, because I was almost too confident that everything was going to be fine, because I was so naive to the fact that things can actually go wrong in your life, that I expected Dad to come home over the next couple of days and that everything was going to be fine. I think from that day, it's just the evening itself is just a horrible memory, and I'm not going to forget about it anytime soon.
The memory I remember the most is the initial phone call from the doctors, like from the hospital, and we hadn't heard from them all day, and they said like, he's not doing very well, we've done everything we can, we don't know what else we can do, the double pneumonia's too difficult, and like it's really making an effect on him and it's not looking good. And I remember Mum saying, so what, you're just going to leave him to die? I don't think I'll ever forget that. And then straight away, like half an hour later, we got another phone call saying that he'd passed. And I don't think I'll ever forget sitting there, trying to hear the other side of the phone conversation, as if what I thought they were calling about wasn't what it was. And I think that memory will stick forever.
I think the main memory that sticks to me is seeing Dad leave for the hospital. He was so fragile, he was unstable, he didn't look well at all. And I hadn't really seen him because I'd been at university, hadn't been home for 2.5 months. So obviously that was the first time I actually saw his face, was when he was leaving the hospital, because he in the bedroom isolating. So I think that's the memory I have the most of him, because it's the last memory I have of him, really, is seeing him rolled away in a stretcher into the ambulance. And yeah, it's not a great memory, I can admit, but it's one I'm not going to forget for a very long time.
Yeah, all the time. I get a lot of flashbacks to when the ambulance came and picked him up, and because it was coronavirus, and it was so early on in the pandemic, no one obviously knew how to deal with it or how infectious coronavirus was, so they came in like the whole bodysuits with like the masks, like you see in the films, to come and collect him. And obviously me and my brother couldn't give him a hug or a kiss or anything, neither did my mum, but she did anyway. Yeah, I think will always remember the look on my dad's face when he was in the wheelchair and he was getting dragged out to the ambulance. I don't think I'll ever forget the look on his face, ever. He was so unwell, and he really wasn't in a good way, and not being able to hug him and stuff was really hard, and I think that flashback will forever stick in my mind, forever.
That was sort of quite traumatic for me, quite worrying, because we'd all treated coronavirus as an illness that wouldn't really affect many people, and the fact that it affected my dad that badly, it sort of put it all into perspective that I need to take this seriously now, that it's actually affecting my dad a lot, and it's ultimately putting his life in danger. So yeah, if I'm not doing much in a day, it will just flash back and I'll just think of that day, and it's not great at all. Getting out of bed the morning after, I don't really remember what I did the morning after. I know I had a very late night. The main thing that got me out of bed was the thought that I had to be there for my mum and my sister and my nan.
My nan had just lost her son. My mum had just lost her husband, her partner, who she'd been with since she was 16. Like, you tend to get out of bed in the morning for other people, not for yourself. So that for me was what made me get up in the morning. It was to be a support to other people who felt the same loss as me, and to, in some way or another, help ease their loss by being a support to them. That was what got me out of bed. It wasn't for me, it was for everyone else.
I just had to be there for them. I couldn't stay in bed. Even though I could have stayed in bed all day, probably for the rest of the week, I knew I had to be there to support them, and that's probably the only thing that got me out of bed.
Probably about 8 or 10 months, I think. Maybe, I think saying 6 is a bit generous, because I think I was in denial for a lot of that time, but I'd probably say 8 or 10 months had passed, and I started to realise that it started to come around a little bit, that this was what was happening, and that I couldn't do anything to change it. I think now, coming to a year, I can say that I'm struggling still, but I do have days where I'm like, okay, this is going to be all right. It's going to be okay, and I can get through today without crying. And I think being stuck indoors in the house because of the virus and being in lockdown and stuff has not helped. And I think if my situation was maybe different, that we weren't in the middle of a lockdown, I might have been sooner. But yeah.
See, with me it's really weird, because I like to think I dealt with it quite well, especially summer coming off of the back of spring. I had a lot to sort of focus on, so I didn't let what had happened really get to me that badly, because I was so overwhelmed with university coursework. I started a YouTube, and there was just a lot to keep my mind off of it. And I think in terms of seeing the light was when, if I'm completely honest, I don't think I've seen it yet, because I've been so overwhelmed by my university coursework. I've been doing something every day for the last almost a year that I just haven't had a chance to realise if stuff's getting better or not. I'm convinced it will, and I'm hoping come summertime I'll finally start to see it, as I'll be happy, I'll be with my family. we would have hopefully seen our friends and family. That'd be a great help. But yeah, in terms of seeing the light, I'm positive I will see it, but I can't say I've seen it yet. I think I started to feel normal once I got back to university the following year, because I was so used to being at university away from my family that I think being home, there was just no way things were going to feel normal for a very long time being home. There was a void in the house, there was a void in the home that just, it wasn't going to be filled anytime soon. And I think once I got to uni, I think I could finally feel some normality because I had a timetable to follow. I was with my friends. Even though coronavirus made it very difficult to feel like I was living a normal university life, it was certainly easier living at university than it was at home. So I say that's where the normality really began, was when I had to get back to my coursework at university.
I can say I don't think I feel normal yet. But then I think that's because of the virus is still very much around, and I think it's hard to pretend everything is okay and when the virus is still living around you 24/7 and that's all that's in the news. You know, coronavirus is just constantly around. I think it's hard to feel normal when that is constantly in your face. So I think once the pandemic has died down and we've found a way to deal with the virus and everything starts to go back to some form of normality, i.e. going out, going to a bar, like meeting your friends, that's when I'll start to feel normal, because that's what life was like before any of this happened, and right now it's still not there yet. So I think I can't say that I feel normal just yet, because I don't. None of this is normal. I think it is my family that's getting me through my grief, and my boyfriend, and like my support network. Talking about it has helped me get through it. Accepting that it's okay to not be okay is getting me through it. Making sure that I am there when other people need me to be, to help their support, i.e. my nan, my brother, my mum, is what's getting me through it. The fact that he wouldn't want me to be sitting around crying 24/7, hating life without him, is getting me through it.
I'd say having to be there for my family. I don't want to sound too cliche by saying my dad was the man of the house, and the fact that now he's gone, I know that job is mine, and I want to make sure I do the best job possible, supporting my mum, my sister, my nan, helping them as much as I can, always being able to solve their problems for them, help them out. So I think that's one of the main things that's getting me through, is knowing that I don't have a choice, that I need to power on for my family. I need to keep going. But at the same time, they've been there for me massively and they've helped me out a lot. So it's definitely worked both ways. They've helped me, and the fact that I have to help them as well is what's keeping me going, because I want to help them.
Dad would constantly be saying, oh my god, grow a pair, get over it, come on. I think that's definitely what's getting me through it.
Yeah, I think having my family and having to help them is giving me almost a purpose to keep going, because I think if I was on my own in this situation, I wouldn't be able to cope with the grief as well as I have. As well as my family, I think it's the thought that I know my dad wouldn't want the fact that he's gone to affect me and to stop me from getting where I want to be. And I think about that a lot, because my dad always wanted the best for me and my sister, and I know that the last thing he'd want is for me to stop doing what I'm doing and to let this get to me. So I think that's what's pushing me on as well, is that I want to be successful even though my dad's not here to help me.
Right now, I'd probably say 4 or 5 times a week I'd get like a big wave where I just automatically start crying. It probably sounds like a lot still, and it's usually at the most weirdest of times, like in a shop or on the train or lying in bed or waking up first thing in the morning. Yeah, it always hits you when you least expect it. You can never prepare for it because it just comes out of nowhere.
I only really get waves hit me when I'm not doing anything. So if I'm bored, if I have nothing to do, if I'm waiting in a queue, my mind just begins to wander, and that's when I start thinking about Dad and everything that's happened. So I'd say probably, if I had to give a number, probably about once or twice a day. No. And I don't think I ever will be. I don't think it's something you're supposed to get over or you're going to get over, because losing a loved one as close as Dad was to me isn't something you can forget about ever. It's not something you can get over.
I don't think you are ever going to be healed. It's impossible when you've lost someone so close to you, and especially when it comes when you least expect it or you have no idea it's going to happen. And it does live with you forever. And it's like things are going to happen as you get older, and they're not going to be there to share that with you, and that's a new wound in itself.
I think it's almost a case of not healing from the pain, but getting used to it and sort of learning to live with it. Yes, it does definitely get better. I'd say so anyway. As time goes on, you learn to sort of just get on with yourself and get on with things. You understand that this is how things are now. You have to carry on. And I think as you learn to deal with stuff more, things get easier. Especially as you open up to your friends and family, things get easier as well.
You cry less, more funny memories start to come up. You see things that make you think, that remind you of them, and you don't cry, you smile. You have good days and you have bad days, and I think that's the case, and that will always be the case, I think.
So I think in terms of it getting better, it does, but you've got to be patient, but you have to believe that things will get better eventually.
Every day. All the time. I can't even put it down to a certain amount of hours. It just is. They're around you all the time, and they will always be throughout everything, and they're always there for you, and they'll always be thinking of you, and you will always be thinking of them, and that's not a bad thing or a scary thing. It's comforting, and it makes things easier.
I don't think I ever stopped thinking about Dad. I do miss him. I'm not going to lie. I do miss him a lot. And a lot of the time I think I'd love to have him here, and I would. As much as I'm used to not having them around at uni, I think of my parents every day, Mum and Dad. I don't think I ever will stop thinking about them, because they're the two most important people in my entire life. I didn't think it was possible, but not having Dad around and losing him has almost increased my love for my mum 100-fold, which I didn't think was possible. But yeah, I think of Dad every day. I don't think I'll ever see a day where I don't think of him.